Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Pasco County Board of County Commission 10 a.m. meeting of June 7, 2022. At this time, please silence all electronic devices and mute your microphones. Please rise for the invocation and pledge.
O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, could you
Yes, ma'am.
please call the roll?
Yes, District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
District 2, Commissioner Moore is not present. District 4, Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Here.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 3, Chairman Starkey.
Here. Okay, now is the time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any current or future agenda item coming before the board and on any other business under the board's purview. Today's public comment will be handled as follows. First, we will take public comment from those who are here in person. Then we will take public comment from those who have pre-registered for a WebEx link and are currently on queue. We request that when you address the board, comments are not directed personally against a commissioner or team member, but rather directed at the issues. This provides mutual respect between board members and the public. After stating your name and address for the clerk, a 3-minute timer will be activated, and after 2 minutes, a single beep will indicate you have 1 minute left. When your time is up, 2 beeps will sound, and you should close your comments. WebEx participants will be disconnected automatically when their time is up. Mr. Clerk, do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
We have several. So the first one is Troy Pedersen.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pastor Troy Peterson, Somebody Cares, Pasco. My address is on file along with my email. I was on the way here today and just praying on what the Lord would have me share. And I believe I'm supposed to share a testimony. I've been coming here for about a year now, encouraging our commissioners to have the Somebody Cares pastors lead in the invocation. I've shared several scriptures, main one being the only way to the Father is through the Son, and we know that Son being Jesus Christ. And on the way here, I was reminded of a couple years back, I was in a prayer meeting, and one of the commissioners had asked if the Somebody Cares pastors could possibly lead in prayer. And I prayed about that for about a year, and then here I am. And to encourage you, there is a group of pastors right now that is praying for our commissioners, their staff, 4 days a week. So we are praying for you. But what we really understand is that if we truly want to make Pasco great, we have to acknowledge Jesus Christ in the invocation. And that's why I've been here. So the testimony that I felt led to share is we were in Tallahassee lobbying with Christian Family Coalition to get a couple laws passed. One of them, the Pastor Protection Act. The other one, I couldn't even believe it was a thing, but in the state of Florida, it was okay or it was approved that a minor could actually go get an abortion without parental consent. Praise God, that got squashed. Now that can't happen any longer. But when we were in Tallahassee, we went into one of our state representatives' office, and we prayed with him, and he gave us plenty of time, and then he prayed for us. One of the other representatives said that, well, I only got 2 minutes, I'm on my way to a lunch, and this pastor stood up and said, do you understand that we come representing 60,000 plus people from Pasco County? And I thought the boldness of this pastor, the way he kind of rebuked this representative, I was like, I didn't really bear witness to it. But I was kind of reminded of that on the way here. I've been coming here for a year, and I haven't gotten any response. And so I would like one of you, or whoever feels led, to email me to figure out how we can actually come and serve and lead in the invocation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Angelo Masacaro.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Angelo Musicaro. I'm the pastor of Worship Life Church on Moon Lake Road. We have purchased that facility. It's been about 2 years now, and people keep approaching me about this property on Midvale. That's 10 acres of property that was connected to the previous church. So I came here to get clarification so that I can actually answer the people that are questioning me, and also if I am being held accountable for what's going on there on that 10 acres, I definitely want to know about that. Especially if it's going to come and land in my lap. I can tell you that I've had people from the West Coast come on down, and while they visited, we looked at the property. So some of the ideas are a garden, a co-op that the kids can come to. We have summer right now. We're looking to build and do something on that property if that's what you want me to do. But I need some clarity so I can move on. Am I responsible for that property as the church that was there, or am I free of that? If I am called on to work there in that area, we'll knock it out. All right, I just need some clarity. I need some clarity. That's it.
Is there someone with staff that can answer his question?
Commissioner?
Sally.
Okay.
Sally.
Actually,
We don't have to comment.
It's Donna Sally.
Mr. Masacaro, could I get the address of the church
I'll bring it
for
up
the...
during miscellaneous business.
Moon Lake Road?
Thank you.
Yes.
It's a legal issue? Or-
No, so the issue is that that property was deeded by the county to Manna Mission Inc. In March of 12. And there's a question I think the commissioner has with regard to the reverter that's in that. It's really a real estate facilities county attorney issue.
Okay, well,
Not a
we'll get an answer
development
for you.
services issue.
Thank you.
All right, next.
Aaron Pike.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Erin Pike, my address and emails on file. I was asked by the thousands
Wait,
of community. Excuse me?
I stop for a second. Why are we doing this address on file?
I have
Stop.
no idea.
We need your address, name and address for the record.
It's
20
on, I have it here.
So we don't, I've
You
never
wanted
had
to
anyone
announce.
come and say it's on file before. This is the,
Well, we've been
Have you-
doxxed before, so that's why I ask not to publicly put it out there. I can give it to you if you need to.
I just want to know what I legally have to have. So we're good with it just being written here?
Public comment is, the only reason to have the folks addressed for public comment is if you want to reach back out to them. It's not like in your afternoon session with public hearings where we have to give notice if there's an appeal.
Okay, it's just, this is the first time this has ever
Yeah.
happened in
Okay.
10 years or whatever, however long I've been here. Okay.
Am I good?
Yeah, and please restart her clock.
Thank you. I was asked by the thousands of community members in Pasco Watch to come here and ask you to vote no on putting the tax referendum the school district wants on the August primary ballot, rather place it on the November general election ballot as the law now says it should be. This will give you a true voice of the community. First, to make it clear, we 100% support teachers being paid fairly and getting a proper raise, not a temporary, non-sustainable line item paycheck increase, which could go away in 4 years, should this not pass later. We believe they should be prioritized first when doing the budget, and have a permanent pay increase is the right thing to do for our teachers and our bus drivers. We believe the district should have a fiscal responsibility and manage their budget appropriately. That being said, today is not about that. It's about making sure all voices are heard in Pasco County. Even the state legislatures recognize tax referendums have no place in a primary. Almost a unanimous vote, 2 nays, made it law, effective October 1st. To quote Rep. Robinson, I think it's a bad policy either way. Whether you're trying to defeat something or trying to get something approved, it should be in front of the maximum number of voters. It's well known that 1/3 of the voters show up for primaries compared to general elections. There's plenty of data to show that. Even the state legislature spoke of that data. Many don't know about them as well, And there's a Democrat primary for governor this year, so more Democrats will be showing up in August for the primaries. All voices should be heard as much as possible to make sure the will of the people are heard, and that's your responsibility to do so. Vote no on knowingly and willingly allowing the majority to not be heard, as well as being in accordance with the law of requiring these to be held in November general elections. If you vote yes for this, you'll be telling your constituents you care more about what the school board wants than making sure you hear from the overall collective voices of Pasco County. Thank you.
Next.
Bernard Seeley.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Bernard Seeley. My address is exempt under Section 119.
Okay.
I am a resident of Pasco County, Dade City. I became aware of an effort by our county school board to place a tax referendum on the August primary ballot. When I heard this, it just didn't seem right to me. Then became aware of House Bill 777, which will require all tax referendums to be placed on the general election come October. I've learned in my many years serving the public sector that when government moves fast and moves quickly, that it should raise some red flags. Since only a small percentage of our population actually vote and exercise their franchise, even a smaller portion turn out during our midterm elections, and even less turnout during our primaries. My question became, why would we want to present any referendum, more or less a tax referendum, on a ballot when only a small fraction of the electorate will vote? Is there an ulterior motive behind this? Is there an attempt to manipulate the system? I pray not. I'm not here to discuss the merits of the tax. I'm only asking that you do the right thing and present this referendum during the November election, when more of your citizens who you swore an oath to represent will be present. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Lindsay Matthew.
Good morning. Lindsay Matthew, Captain Paramedic at Pasco County Fire Rescue. My address is protected. My goal here this morning is to help express the magnitude of the problem going on with Pasco County Fire Rescue. I'd like to walk you through a scenario. I want you to imagine your morning routine. You wake up in the morning, you get out of bed, you make a cup of coffee, and you hop into your car just like any other morning. And unexpectedly, you're in a car crash. Not any car crash, it's a rollover incident, it's critical in nature, and you need to get to a trauma facility for surgery, like right now. And you may not think this is going to happen to you, but the reality is that we're landing helicopters for trauma-related incidents every day. And so you're sitting in your seat, dazed and confused, and someone comes to your window and says, Pasco firefighters are coming. But the truth is, they're not close by. In Pasco County, every day, at some point, we are Signal 40, which means there's not a single rescue available to provide help to the citizens of Pasco in their greatest time of need. When every second counts, we're minutes away. I'm one of 700 firefighters. And you can see the yellow shirts that have brought support behind me, who are heartbroken every time we have to go to multiple response areas to get to a call. At first, there's no units available, and it's like a rescue is coming from Wesley Chapel to run a call in Newport Richey. Recently, we had a cardiac arrest in Land O'Lakes, and then you may not know, cellular brain death occurs in 6 minutes. It took us 18 minutes to get there. Or a burn patient in Zephyr Hills, in which there's not a single rescue available to go from the fire scene to the helispot. Or just yesterday, it took us 16 minutes to get to a cardiac arrest in Wesley Chapel. This is utterly unacceptable. It's not the way it should be. We are Signal 40, and you have to understand, there's other fire departments that are not Signal 40 the way we are daily. What we are experiencing is not a dynamic indicative to the pandemic. In other words, it's not, we can't blame it on COVID. What we're seeing is a lack of foresight from county leadership that has not grown the fire department in a trajectory that meets, or better yet, exceeds the population growth of the county. If you're going to build 30,000 houses, we need more stations, we need more units, and we need more people. As a real estate broker, I'm aware of the issues with building materials, supply shortages, and the subsequent delays. However, I'm also aware of the meteoric rise in home prices, by which you multiply the millage rate to cause a significant increase relatively in revenue. So I submit to you, given the resources and the revenue and the influence you have in your possession, that you would use it for more stations, and more units, and more personnel that we so desperately need. So God forbid you're sitting in that vehicle with critical injuries. You can confidently know that the Pasco County firefighters are coming, and we're gonna make it when seconds count. And the question is, what are you going to do to ensure that statement is true? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, you can't do that in this building.
That's the completion of the folks that have pre-signed in the room. We do have folks online.
Okay, let's go to online, and then if there's
Let's
anyone
ask
else.
if there's anybody.
All right, we'll do it in that order. Is there anyone else here that wishes to speak to the county commission? Come on up. Anyone else? Okay, after this gentleman, then we'll go to our online speakers.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Joseph Hart. I'm a resident of Holiday. My address is 3326 Jackson Drive.
I'm sorry, one more time, I didn't catch it.
3326 Jackson Drive. I'd like to thank everybody for hearing my concerns. Give you a little background. I moved here from New York City about a year and a half ago. Come from a mainly second and third generation Irish and Italian background. The area that I lived in New York was 90% Roman Catholic. And I would probably say that most people in the voting district are Republican. I would even go to say that most of them voted Trump, maybe even more than Pasco County. What I want to talk about is the ordinance 530.5. Has to do with restrictions on what you can park in your own driveway. Like, I can understand that nobody wants a visual blight in their neighborhood, but maybe this may be going a little bit too far. You know, take like me. I have a small utility trailer. I enjoy gardening. I don't want to put it on the side of the house because one or two things will happen. You'll have a rut on the side of your house, which doesn't look good. And second of all, some people, they're going to leave it there and they're not going to cut their grass. And how's that going to look? Kind of defeats the purpose. One of my neighbors, who is a married father, who has children, works hard, enjoys taking his children fishing on the weekend. So, you know, it's a family man. This is what we try to promote. Family time together. And it makes it harder for him to do that. You know, he has limited time. So I've spoken to a number of people in my neighborhood on both sides. And it seems that a vast majority of them believe that this should be amended to be a little bit more fair. You know, we're seeing in our country a lot of movements on personal rights, and I don't see why real property usage rights shouldn't be one of them. We're not communists, are we? So I'd like you all to consider that. It's something I think may be very important. And I think if you all come up with something, maybe an amendment, it would put you on the right side of things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You drove a long way. Okay. Okay, we'll go to the folks online.
Our first person signed up online is Nancy Gray.
502 Adonis Road, Newport Richey, 654. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I come before you again regarding Deer Lake. We have 4 homeowners around the lake commercial property on Ridge Road for sale, and Wells Fargo and Woodland Ridge. Wells Fargo has been permitted to drain their roof and driveway into the lake as they're grandfathered in. Most of their runoff goes into the lake. Some of it runs onto Little and Ridge Road. When the contractor was digging to locate their septic tank, they broke down curb, causing more water into the lake. The health department issued a septic permit, but they've not relocated it yet and have not rebuilt curbs. After Sunday night's rain of less than 1/4 of an inch, it raised the lake feet. Stormwater and a clogged up lake, not rainfall. Last year, the water was up over 140 feet out of the lake, and the county would not pump it down. This caused thousands of dollars of damage and compensation. The year before, the water was so high, one homeowner had water in her home and with no compensation. The county pumped more than 20 owned lakes last year, except for Deer Lake. The county has also set up permanent drains in private lakes and not Deer Lake. Why are we penalized and other homeowners are being favored? It's been suggested that the county make the lake and assess the homeowners. As homeowners, we know nothing further about this. Assess us for damage not created by us, but due to the county allowing Wells Fargo to use the retention funds. This doesn't seem fair to the homeowners to make us pay for it's being used as a retention fund. It doesn't seem fair that the county's been putting other privately owned lakes and not lake. Nor does it seem fair that the county's come up with permanent solutions for other privately owned lakes and not Deer Lake. I am again requesting the county pump down the lake to its level and continue to pump as it rains to keep the water contained in the lake until the county comes up with a permanent solution to the problem that does not require 4 homeowners to bear the burden of a problem that we did not create. Please don't let this go on. Please do the right thing before the water does more damage again this year. We can't have a repeat again. Thank you for your time, but please let's get this done.
Thank you.
Our next person online is Catherine Julian.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Okay, good. My name is Catherine Julian. I live at 10232 Worthyland Way, Newport Richey, Florida. And I'm calling to ask you to delay the placement of the new taxes on the ballot until at least November. It doesn't seem right to me that we put this on a primary ballot where there are very few voters engaged and voting in the election. So it's easier, or it's just not fair. It should go in front of the entire electorate. I also would like to speak about the Signal 40. We had a family friend who passed away earlier this spring, apparently from a heart attack. I don't know the family that well, so I haven't reached out, but the information I was given was he had a heart attack and rescue was not able to reach him within a reasonable amount of time, and he passed away. He was younger than me, had young children, still has a child in the school system, and I find it really unnerving that we have 9 new or renovations of fire stations on the books for over 3 years, and none of them have been completed yet, and that apparently our county attorney is managing this process, and we can only construct one at a time. I really feel bad for the firefighters having to come here and explain that to you. They shouldn't have to. You as managers and elected officials should be handling this on your own. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.
Next is James Stanley, online.
Good morning. My name is Jim Stanley. I live at 12706 Burns Drive in Odessa. I'm here to speak with you this morning about item 13 on your agenda, the request by Pasco School Board to place a property tax referendum on the August primary ballot. As you know, the legislature passed HB 777, which requires referenda elections for property tax increases to be held on the day of the general election. This legislation was passed by nearly unanimous votes in both houses of the legislature and signed by Governor DeSantis. Think about that. A nearly unanimous vote in the legislature is rare. You can hardly get both parties to agree today is Tuesday, but they came together and recognized the importance of having all voters weigh in on proposals to increase property taxes. I understand it doesn't take effect until October, but placing the school district's property tax on the primary ballot ignores the will of the people as expressed by our representatives in Tallahassee. The legislature passed this bill because they know that general elections have 3 to 5 times the turnouts of primary votes, and a tax which affects everyone should be voted on by everyone. Your counterparts in Hernando County actually voted to move their school district's ballot initiative from 2022 to 2024. We're not asking for anything nearly so radical and moving the referendum to November would still allow time for the school district to implement the tax and in time for 2023 as planned. So again, I'm asking you to please vote to change the date of the referendum from August to November. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last person signed up, I don't believe, has checked in, so that would be the end of those that have signed to. I'll call her name, but Rebecca Yingling, is she in the room or online? That completes those that have signed up.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, this concludes the public comment portion of our meeting, and now is the time for resolutions.
We have no resolutions other than what is on consent.
Okay, and we had the one for Mr. Webster, but we're
Withdrawn,
postponing.
yes.
Yeah. He couldn't make it today. Okay, so the next order of business is the consent agenda. And I have C18 for pull and revise by David Engel and C62 withdrawn by Sarah Rodriguez. Board members, is there anything else you'd like to see pulled from the consent agenda? Okay, David?
Good morning, David Engel.
Oh, sorry.
Move approval of the rest of the items on consent.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, David, sorry.
Good morning, David Engel, Office of Economic Growth. C18 is an appointment to the Pasco Hernando Workforce Board. We'd like to revise the recommendation to read as follows. Appoint Lee Middleton to the Pasco Hernando Workforce Board as recommended by the Pasco Hernando Workforce Board Executive Committee.
Okay.
Move approval.
Take a second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Well, that was easy. And C62 is a withdrawal, so we will move on to the R's. And, sorry.
C10 was also, I thought C10 was also pulled for discussion.
Not on my
Is
sheet,
that not on
but,
your list?
all right, we can,
I'll discuss it during miscellaneous business.
okay,
Okay.
because it's,
Thank you.
C10 doesn't require action, so it's appropriate for old business as well. It's just our litigation status report for the border.
okay. So then, we have, sorry, I'm looking for R77. So who is
Yeah,
speaking?
Commissioner, that was one that Commissioner Mariano asked us to put on. It's a notice of termination of the interlocal wholesale wastewater agreement by Hernando County.
Madam Chair, I wanted to bring it up. At the time, let's say the last meeting, we were looking at County Line Road getting possibly funded direct from the legislature. That didn't happen as it got vetoed. In the midst of that happening, Hernando County put an agreement together with us a few years ago, but they had also a right to end that agreement any time to supply water. The thought was we don't have water up along County Line Road, and we could use their capacity. In the last several years, they've had a lot of development going on up there. They pretty much need their capacity, so they've ended their agreement with us to say it's going to end in 2 years. From what I understand, we haven't done anything to hook up yet, but there's other developments pushing to go up north. The reason I pulled the agenda item was I wanted to make sure everyone saw it, understood what it meant,
And as you've heard me say for past several years, in the past several meetings, even I think we've had this conversation, we need to run a sewer line up there along County Line Road. County Line Road's going to get built at some point in time. I think it's part of our capital plan that needs to come forward. I'm not pushing for residential growth up there, but there's a lot of commercial growth we can capitalize on. And I think it's something that's going to be important that we take effect of that. So I would like to see a plan coming forward from staff to say, okay, what are we going to do up there and when? In the midst of administrator leaving, other things going on, it's going to be difficult to get a report right away, but I think we should start that discussion. And if the board agrees that we should have a discussion on that program, then let's make a move.
Yeah, so, Mr. Carballa, could you come up and discuss the discussion we had this morning?
Yeah, so-
And I've also talked with
Just
Ms. Foss.
to the commissioner's point, the utility is not in the business of extending utility lines for developers or development. I mean, we would work with a developer to upsize a line, but not necessarily, we generally don't fund that 100%.
It's sometimes I wonder why we do things the way we do, because we build roads and then we tear them up to put the utilities in. And it doesn't make sense to me. I know you've explained it to me that you may not know the size of the pipe, but we know development is coming, and it may not only be residential. I mean, there's other kinds of economic development activity, and why we do, I just need one day to understand why we have to do it that way and there aren't other options. And I'd love for us to talk about other options and then have the developers pay us for the work that we did. But when we build the roads or we widen a road, why can't we put it in when we're doing that? But that's
Sure.
just me postulizing up here.
Mike Carballa, Assistant County Administrator for Public Infrastructure. To that point, that speculative growth on the utility side, it bears a maintenance cost and a cost that would be borne by the ratepayers under our current structure. There could be ways that you address that in very discrete circumstances. I think we've kind of done that in some areas of the county. But as a general rule, it financially it does the additional costs are borne by the ratepayers ultimately, and then all the additional maintenance costs that comes with underutilized pipes and those types of things does create a burden on the utility because the growth comes later. I understand the frustration, and we do try to plan. Believe me, when we plan roads to be widened and to be expanded, those plans are done well in advance, and our engineers do plan in accordance with those plans to make sure that those utility lines are adequately sized and put in the right place. As far as the County Line Road Agreement, yes, we negotiated that agreement about 5 or 6 years ago. It started out as our request was actually to have water and sewer service. Hernando County balked at the water portion of it, just because they're under a different structure than we are with Tampa Bay Water and having regional supply. So ultimately, we settled on sewer working both ways. Of course, the county does not have sewer facilities up in that area. We received our first application maybe a couple of months ago for a commercial development on Hernando County. Before that, on the Pasco County side, and we went ahead and followed everything that we were supposed to follow with regards to that agreement to receive bulk sewer service. And so just to be clear, the agreement is we would establish bulk interconnects with Hernando County. Our customers would still pay our rates normally, and then we would work. We have a bulk agreement worked out with Hernando County that covers basically our bulk rates, for example, would cover all the costs of providing service as well as oftentimes the cost of the impact fees, so paying for the capacity. And the agreement speaks to that. It's unfortunate that the agreement is pulled because it will stifle development on Pasco County side of the county line. And I have had our engineers provide some preliminary looks at what it would take to provide sewer service. Bear in mind, we have the treatment capacity at our Shady Hills Wastewater Treatment Plant, which is a few miles to the south of this area. What we lack is the collection infrastructure, which would require a master pump station as well as a force main. And to Dan's earlier point, speculatively putting sewer lines in under our current financial structure doesn't make a lot of sense, but collaboration with the development community, which we do quite frequently, to look at oversize agreements and things like that where they make sense. We certainly participate in those types of activities. So with that, I'll just answer any other questions that we might have.
I have a question, Paul.
So I have an idea as well. When Commissioner Oakley, you were out talking about State Road 52, how we need to go make that road work. That'll kind of be an alternative traffic reliever for the rest of the county. And later on today, we've got this great project coming in with 4 million square feet of commercial coming in, total of 5 total with a hotel. And that's driven because you put the infrastructure in place.
Right.
Right? That
Yes.
happening has just led to so many other things happening. County Line Road is a very opportune area that could develop very well for us if we start planning now for it. That agreement we had was, we had some developments coming in that might have been coming, they got held up or whatever, so it never came through, but it was designed to help development our end coming. What I don't want to see is us to turn, kind of like Hillsborough did, was they kept everything rural on their northern border, and what happened? It's a mess down there, and we're sharing the burden on it. Now, right now, County Line Road is a very heavily trafficked area. It's got an opportunity with a lot of residential and commercial development above it that's going on right now. We can capitalize down below if we put the infrastructure in place. Things will happen if they come in. We can work on reimbursement. Now, if we have to, I think we got the penny for Pasco coming up. This should be an infrastructure project. Maybe it's not a road, but it should be considered infrastructure. No different than we didn't help out with Zephyr Hills putting in $2.3 million for their water sewer line to get industrial development. The same thing should go here. I mean, we saw the graphs. When you bring industrial development in, the jobs it creates is phenomenal. And if we're going to work on, as well on, over on Denton Avenue where that industrial park, 160 acres, wants to come in, that's going to be infrastructure as well. Maybe we go look at funding it that way so the ratepayers don't share the burden, and long term we can get our investment back and do what we want to do is create jobs for this county.
Commissioner Oakley.
In that area also on 41, I think there's an industrial park going to come in that area also. So we've got to be looking at that area, and that's before you get to county line. But I think we need to be looking at projects that we can entice to come in that area to help us work out the financing and be able to put the infrastructure in there and provide for that whole area around County Line Road. So we, I know it's needed, and it looks very rural. If you drive out there now, there's a lot of traffic, but it's pretty rural in that particular area right in there. So.
Well, just like what Commissioner Mariano said, that, you know, our entry-level homes are very expensive, and Hernando is starting to go. And so there is going to be development pressure on that road. So I don't, you know, I'm sure you can bring some ideas back to the board on how we can.
We can certainly kind of look at a holistic concept master plan if that's something the board is interested in seeing.
So how would it work if, I understand we have a Culver's coming in up there, and I don't know what else is in.
I don't know if they're going to continue or not. We basically rejected their application when Hernando canceled the agreement.
Well, and so there you go.
Where's the closest water sewer to this area?
It's several miles away, Commissioner, to the south. It's I can't pinpoint the exact intersection, but I can tell you it would probably run anywhere from 8 to 10 to $15 million in terms of capital costs to really make that work.
So well, we got to be looking at ways to be able to finance that to make sure we work out in the right areas and provide that infrastructure. So when we have somebody ready to come, they come and they pay the price for the pipes and all.
Let me ask you: is it prudent to make some kind of area, designate an area, and say if you're coming in for some kind of development, you're part of this group, and we're kind of like how we built State Road 56. I know they were large landowners, but there was a group that came together and worked together to help build some of that infrastructure there.
Well, they actually on 56, they had some financing. A group that came in and said they would finance to put the water and all in that was not there, and it's still not there on some certain parts. But
I'm
this
just
group
saying we
came
should
in,
designate
put money
an area
out for credits, and eventually it'll get put in all the way out on 56. So,
I mean, how does one person trying to build a culver's is not going to have the bandwidth to come in and figure out how to get all the owners together to put in infrastructure? So we have to help put together some kind of district or something that will facilitate all of us working together in an area. That's my thought.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to give that some thought.
Okay. So, Madam Chair, as well as looking at that and bringing that item up, I'd like to, as well as taking a look to that, let's and we're already in conversation, but that Hudson Hicks Road, New York Avenue site for industrial park too, let's go take a look at that, put a whole plan together and give us some numbers, and then I think the board can take a look. If we want to make that an infrastructure project, we can go do so, and then maybe that helps facilitate the financing or the extra participation from others coming in, because there's at least 3 or 4 developments that want to come in up there that can't because we don't have the sewer connection.
Right.
So just saying we're going to make the commitment to go through it, and it's going to take a couple of years to get it done, may stimulate the rest of it to happen, and the participation we want economically to make it happen, but we've got to put the plan in place to what it's going to be.
Right, I understand.
I want to stay on this, or did you want to say something?
Yeah,
Attorney?
I need to ask a question. So are you suggesting to use the economic development portion of the penny? Because you don't have a utilities portion of the penny currently. And
So-
you're not proposing, the current ballot language would not add utilities to
So
our current methodology.
could we take the transportation component and add utilities to it?
In the new penny?
In the new penny, not the old penny, the new penny.
You could change the ballot language, but then that changes the way you've structured, I mean, it's pretty late to change the ballot language since it's about to go to the supervisor, but you could. But all of
That's an agenda item on the 21st board meeting.
Right.
The challenge there is the transportation piece you're trying to fund is also underfunded. So the things you're trying to do with the transportation doesn't have another funding source for this. You could
I get to see
probably,
the full project list in the transportation anyway.
we're setting up meetings for each of y'all to walk you through all that.
I understand, but you
Yeah.
just said it's coming up on the 21st as well, and we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I understand.
So when are we going to, how quick are we going to see this, and can we add a little bit of language in there where utilities can be included, something general even, but just something.
Well, how much is that going to take up of it?
I don't know, but I want to create the opportunity either way, and I don't care even if it's economic development, you use part of it, though that would be another conversation, but somewhere to try to find a way to put it in there, so we have the opportunity to bring in utilities one way or that, whether it be transportation or economic
What
development.
if there's some kind of TIF or something?
Commissioner Starkey had a good idea with the district, or what we've done other places where we've done surcharges, like in VOPH, there are surcharges on impact fees to help pay for the services that we're bringing to VOPH. If we're gonna, we don't extend utilities for development, we don't. That's an enterprise and a board policy decision. The ratepayer does not pay to extend utilities. The impact fee is really collected to expand plant and transportation and capacity in the existing system. And so you need another funding stream, and what we've done in the past with other sources is done surcharges, whether it's on transportation or parks, like we've done in VOPH. And so that's one way you could fund it, is through a surcharge. The problem there is you're building it without the users, which is then ends up being a ratepayer cost that they will be paying to maintain it without a user base. So you've got to build those in conjunction with a project that will use it so that you're not increasing your maintenance.
And I lived in a neighborhood called Riviera, where Sean Foster lives now, where there were only 3 or 4 houses in there. It was built during right when the recession happened, and it was then serviced by Aloha, and they had to come in and turn on the fire hydrants and literally flood my streets to keep black rocks from coming out of my faucet, to keep, servicing the line. So I get what you're saying about
Correct, and we have
maintenance.
areas
Yeah.
like that still.
I've had that experience.
Yeah.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So if we could fund the infrastructure up front, then when we charge the developers, or when we charge the impact fees, that should be able to reimburse and recoup the funds.
I think that's what Dan's referring to as the surcharge.
Yeah.
The surcharge model could help reimburse from that, but there's still an upfront capital cost that has to be managed. And then there will still be maintenance costs with no source of revenue attached to them until the development comes. But
Your current impact fee does not pay to extend utilities. It pays for capacity in the wastewater treatment plants, the water capacity on the water side, and then the main transmission mains, the big mains.
I think there's other
expand,
ways
does
we
not
can
pay
figure
to
this
extend
out.
development, so.
And I think a district with some economic incentives, I think we can work this out. David Engel, I know, has a brilliant mind that can help put some legs to this, so.
Pressure on it.
We can figure it out. we're not the first ones to have this problem, so I'm confident we can figure
Madam
something
Chair.
out. But I don't want to be turning away people who want to have businesses because
Madam
we can't
Chair.
provide, yeah.
Let's let staff go back
Yeah.
and see how they can work out financing for this type of infrastructure that we need, and we don't seem to find it right here now. But
Right.
maybe there's a way we can through a surcharge or some other way that will provide that and actually help the county at the same time. So if you'll bring something like that back to us.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to bring up Hernando County in my commissioner items and not talk about that here. But thanks. And we'll figure it out. I have faith. Okay, R78.
As to the agenda item, though, is there an action required, Mr.
No,
Stein?
no, 77.
No.
Oh, no action required.
No, 77. On 78 there is.
78, there's action.
R78. Is there a presentation or are we just voting on it?
David, 78 is the resolution.
So 78 is a resolution illustrating the board's intent to take over the jail operations on or about the 1st of October. We need this approved by the board in order to move forward in the process with FDLE. We need an ORI number because that's what we need. That's really at this point the critical path to take over the jail. And so we need the board to approve this resolution so that FDLE can move forward with getting the ROI number in place so that we can do the background checks, post the personnel files, et cetera, on the current jail employees and also hire the new corrections officers. So that's what this is.
Board members, any questions on R78? Commissioner Oakley?
With this item about the detention center and us taking it over, I think we need to go forward on it with our best intent, we've still got the right staff. Mr. Biles will be leaving, but we have the right staff in place to take care of that. And I think we need to send that message very strong back to our people that work with sheriff's office that are in the jail system that we'll be taking over as employees. And we've told them that we're coming, and we should, with this agreement, we should tell them we are coming. We'll take care of that. So.
Commissioner Mariano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had met with the sheriff day before yesterday. Actually, no, yesterday. Then I went to Orange County. The jail's leadership team was all there. Andrew Baxter was there. Joanna Cheshire was there. So the whole team would listen to Orange County, how they've been doing it. They've been doing it for the past 30 years. The discussions were very good. Orange County, what a great professional group they are. They've given us a full support of whatever you need, we're here to help you go through the process. I was very impressed. There was one issue that came up that we discussed. It has to do with dual certification of the people in the jail. And I talked with the sheriff about that this morning on the way in, and we think we got good resolution to try to work where he can decide who's. I would like to continue working with that group for the next couple of months. You've heard me talk about Charlotte County when they had the FAC trip down there, and they showed us where they had mental health, drug addiction, hospital they kind of built, and has been working now for 3 years. Our staff didn't do any research on it really. They're going to go down there, trying to work that out to go down there to go see what they're doing. This may mean we take a look at our jail construction we're going to do and make some tweaks to it. But I want to work with the correction folks to make sure they're 100% confident what we're going to build is going to serve them best as well. So if the board will allow me, I'll kind of stay with that and kind of keep working that through.
Yeah, and Dan is shaking his head.
I mean, we have a team working on that, and we can keep you involved as to what's going on. But I mean, we have a team working on that full speed. Where I'm also right
I'd say I want to be part of that conversation going all the way through.
Understand?
That's all.
Yeah.
And I just want the board to know that so we don't get.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I move approval.
Second?
Any more discussion?
No, good.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All
Madam
right.
Chairman, while you're on that item, rather than bring it up under a separate item, just as an update from clerk, there has been a selection for a auditing firm to do those critical areas that need that financial and transitional audit. The successful discussions have occurred, and we are now in final negotiation for the contract to be executed here shortly. So that piece for those things that are critical for transitional inventory and as opposed to audit are well under the way and should work within the timelines that the board is anticipating.
Great. I was a little nervous about the October 1 deadline, but you know, anything that's not finished, finalized, we can continue to work on.
It'll work.
So we'll make it happen, and we welcome all those employees into the family. And now we are to R79.
Good morning. David Engel, Economic Growth Director, Pasco County. It's my pleasure today to present an infrastructure funding and economic incentive proposal and agreement for your consideration in one of the largest employment center areas of Pasco County. I'd like to kind of structure the presentation in 3 segments. I'll provide an overview of the project. We have Mr. Michael Wolf, Master Developer, Principal, here to discuss the project and the credentials of the organization which will be bringing this project forth, and then any type of deliberation and questions you may have afterwards for the team. The property in question is located in the southeastern quadrant of State Road 52 I-75. It consists of 965 acres. The developer purchased the property and closed in December of 2021 for $52 million and is currently proposing a mixed-use MPUD consistent with the employment center future land use for the property. The project will have 4 million square feet of industrial, 725,000 square feet of office, 400,000 square feet of retail uses, 300 hotel rooms, and 3,500 dwelling units. The benefits of the project related to economic growth are profound because we're focusing on installing all the public master roadway and utility infrastructure in the connected city employment area. That will be on the developer's property and off-site to serve the entire area. Secondly, we want to accelerate employment center vertical development along the I-75 corridor. Because of the pressures in the marketplace and our lack of inventory, we do not have suitable space for companies to come into that area right now, and we do have tremendous demand for that. And the developer has, we've requested and the developers agreed to increase the industrial entitlement from 1.8 million square feet of industrial to 4 million square feet. That's over a double there. The property is the crosshatch land, that's the 965 acres. To the right of McKindry, which will be renamed Boyette, which is on the easterly side of Boyette. The developer is proposing to construct key connected city infrastructure in that area. The public master road system is a $70.1 million project. That's sanitary sewer, potable water, reclamation lines, and roadways. And the developer has requested some assistance because we want to accelerate creating a development-ready environment in the employment center. And we're proposing to provide $46.2 million in ad valorem equivalency grants. That's a form of a rebate. The developer pays taxes in year 1 and gets rebated a portion of the taxes in year 2, which is 33% for most of the development and 20% for the multifamily. The project completion of all the $70 million worth of infrastructure is in 3 phases with a terminating target date of December 31st, 2028. The employment incentive is very simple. The developer is proposing to construct at least 1 million square feet of industrial office building or industrial buildings as its first phase. And they're seeking help with the master utility system, which will be $9.6 million. This is the most economic incentive that we provided to date. The Rooker project, for example, which we provided pads and pours funding, was $9.80 a square foot, and this is $9.60 a square foot. The benefits of the project are profound. First of all, on the ad valorem rebates, during the county will capture at least, this is an at least, over the period of time that we're providing the rebates, $300 million in net money coming into the general fund. The project will generate $386.6 million, and the developer in its totality is asking for $55.8 million. The annual gross county product is $604 million a year, contributing and injecting money into our economy. And there are 6,000 full-time jobs that will be created once this project is completed. The developer's market consultant and some of the staging and timeline information provided by the developer, the build-out is approximately 12 to 15 years to have this project fully completed. Now, the first 10 years of construction consists of construction and then phasing of development. And just based on that 10 years and rounding out, the return on investment for this incentive request and the infrastructure funding is 35 times. Once the project is complete, it'll be over $1 of contribution by the county will give us over $100 in return to the local economy. So this is the most productive agreement that I brought forth to date to the board. There are specific features with this economic development agreement that make it quite unique. Number one, all ad valorem rebate funds go into an escrow account. The developer cannot access these funds until it reaches 1 million square feet of industrial development certificate of occupancies. And this is very profound because what does that 1 million square feet translate into cost? Well, first of all, they're going to be laying out $25 million in phase one infrastructure. That's consisting of all the utilities and all the road system to service phase one. Second of all, this is not a build-to-suit. The developer's agreeing to over $125 million worth of speculative construction. So when you put it all together, the road, acquiring the property utilities, it's well over $200 million before the developer can get $1 out of the escrow account. So it's a very significant gesture the developer's making and a commitment to the project. Secondly, all money given to the developer out of the escrow fund will be performance-based. They have to show us invoices and billings against eligible activities, which are the design and construction of the infrastructure. Money won't be used for buildings or any other thing that the developer may need funds for. This is just for the infrastructure. And most importantly, we're not allowing in the MPUD loom, it's in the agreement, a restriction. You can't take non-residential development and modify it to revise it to residential. And we're only allowing a very small component of the loom to be able to adjust the industrial. Not more than 500,000 square feet of industrial use entitlements can be converted to office. And might I add, if it were to happen, the county would inure more tax revenue because offices have more value than an industrial building, and there'll be more jobs. So that's my overview on this presentation, and I'd like to introduce Michael Wolf to the board.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for allowing me a little bit of time to introduce ourselves. I've gotten to say hello, I think, to a few of you so far, but if I may, we'll make a brief, more formal introduction. So the property I know you're very well familiar with. I want to thank everybody here at the...
Just for purposes of the record, identify
Oh, I'm
who
so
you
sorry.
are.
Thank you for reminding me. Hi, Michael Wolf. My address is 8814 Wellington View Drive, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33411. So continuing, look, I think you've got a good representation of where the project is, either from prior looks at the project as well as David's overview. But if I may, let me kind of dive in, tell you a little bit about who Columnar Holdings is. I think some of you are kind of unfamiliar with who we are and how we showed up in the county. Do you have a thanks? So Columnar Holdings is part of a bigger organization that many of you are familiar with here, close in town. Trailer Construction Group, or Trailer Brothers Construction, is the group that built the Howard Franklin Bridge back in the 90s. We're also JV partners with the Walsh Group, currently constructing the new expansion of the Howard Franklin Bridge not far from here. Next slide, please. And so underneath that, that company, by the way, is a third-generation company founded in 1954 by the current brother's grandfather, and then subsequently run by their father and uncle. Their father has passed, but their uncle's still alive, and the four brothers today run the company. Since running this since 1954, they've amassed some wealth. They've formed Trailer Capital, which is a divestiture arm of the company, within which we've formed kind of a vertically integrated group of real estate companies. Columnar Holdings, which is the biggest. We're a real estate development company like this. We buy raw land, entitle it, and do these infrastructure improvements and whatnot. We also have construction arms for doing vertical construction as well. You can see from the map up here, we've had a very strong presence in the Orlando market for the last nearly 15 years. Developed almost 5,000 lots there in major master plan communities, largely adjacent to Disney World, in a big residential district, not too dissimilar from Connected City and Village of Pasadena Hills. So very experienced in the space and construction, development. We've also got horizontal development going on in the Austin and Dallas markets, as well as in Denver, as well as down in Southwest Florida, where we're right now building about 800,000 to 900,000 square feet of industrial. So we've got experience in kind of all asset classes, from residential, industrial, multifamily, single family, and so on. So really glad to have the opportunity to be a part of this project. If you would, next slide, please. Thanks. This is kind of showing you our Ovation project on the west side of Disney World, right outside of Flamingo Crossings. And in case you kind of know, that Horizons West District, which is just outside the west gate of Disney. Moving on. The next slide, please. Thanks. So we've showing you here just a little bit of a bubble plan, of a framework plan. Obviously, right now there's, this is still a work in progress, but what we're really hoping to accomplish is the 4 million plus or minus square foot business park on the west side of the property up against the interstate. We're working really hard and talking with several parties about hopefully a health and wellness form of this to consume a good portion, if not all, of the office space. Not all, but a good portion of the office use here in the market, as well as substantial retail component to help serve the residents in the area. And then obviously another key part of this that was part of the original Connected City plan is the town center. So page south, it's to the left side of the page there. But at Tyndall Road, which obviously is a road that bifurcates Epperson Ranch and Murata projects, as well as directly leading to the future super park that the county's been working on for a number of years. So we're really excited about that, future retail component as well. We think that'll be a substantial benefit as folks can reach that through the multimodal systems as, planned by the counties with the road structure. So just kind of some examples of, what we're envisioning on the business park. We're working with both local and national consultants that'll have that experience to not just lay out at large industrial buildings, but work with us on the placemaking as well, carrying that through to the Health and Wellness Center. We've also working on a partnership that we're using in Central Florida and Orlando right now with the University of Florida and their IFIS group. They've got a tremendous group that has worked with us and will work with us on this project on kind of sustainable design, parks, wellness, tying in the green belt to those fitness components, et cetera. So we're really excited to be partnering with the University of Florida again on that and bring that, kind of quality to this development. Next slide, thanks. Again, that town center, we just, we really see the need for that, highly activated space that brings together the current and future residents of the nearby master plans and future master plans that are, on the out front horizon, again, as well as being able to draw folks in from, the future, for the future super park. And then again, as well as having a place to, bring forward all the employees that are going to be working in this area that need places for dining, entertainment, et cetera, that don't exist today. Next slide. So anyhow, I'm available for any questions if you have, but otherwise I'll turn it back over to the business folks. Okay.
Well, we didn't get a chance to meet, I don't think. Did I meet with you?
Briefly in the hallway and briefly at a fundraising, but yeah.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Mr.
It's a great project. This kind of project and thank David and all the staff that worked on it too, along with you, and coming to this conclusion. It seems to me it's happening very fastly to come to this point. So I think it's a win-win for the county and for our developer. We appreciate you being here and building this kind of product for us.
No, thank you, Commissioners. As you know well, because we sat together with you, this came together very quickly at the end of last year. We closed the week before Christmas, and you know, our MPD is working its way through the process expeditiously as well, and your staff's just been phenomenal at helping work this through the process so we can hopefully get a shovel on the ground before the end of this year.
Yeah, so, it's a great project.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Commissioner, oh, no, hang on, because there's more of us that have questions or
Yeah.
comments. Commissioner
Yeah,
Mariano.
well, I'd like to welcome you. This is exciting. This is a very exciting project. David Engel is great to see him staying so controlled through this whole thing. But as he says, it's like the best project he's seen come to the county. So we're excited about it. Appreciate everybody working with the team. I see Joel and Pat there. So everybody working together to make this happen it's going to be a phenomenal project, and helping another development right beside it that's going to elevate everything as well. So welcome, and whatever we can do to help, we're here for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Another thing.
So, okay. And
I
then
want to add one more thing.
Sure.
This is in District 1. I grew up here in Dade City and went off to school in Tennessee and came back and went to work in a citrus business, but a lot of my classmates and friends that were here and grew up here couldn't go off to school and come back here for jobs, and this presents us with a lot of jobs and places to live and a very good environment for our residents in Pasco County. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I didn't know much about your company, and I'm going to do a little more research, but this looks absolutely fantastic. I'm really excited we're getting this quality of development at 75 and 52, and I'm sure you're going to be very successful there. I do have a question, and my staff knows I'm going to ask about trails, because I'm looking at the Murata map, and I do see a multi-use path, but for me, it's super important that there's connectivity, and I saw in your renderings or your photographs that you do emphasize walkability and bikeability, and I'm so thankful they're not on the road, but you have some dedicated opportunities. What's the plan for here? And so many of our communities are using golf carts to get around. I want to make sure that we've allowed for golf carts to be able to come from the residential and the communities over to access all your retail. So,
yeah, no, you're absolutely correct on that, and that was a substantial part of our negotiation and working together with staff, was to make sure that we kept sort of all that goodness and richness that's been baked into the Connected City Master Plan and bringing it into here, even though we're staying with the EC zoning. So all of the right-of-way sections in the mixed-use part of the project will continue to maintain those multimodal trails for the golf cart access, for pedestrian, for bicycles. We're actually working right now with the engineering group to, with Height, who you're familiar with, and is here today, to expand on the width of that trail system so that it really picks up on that park-like system. We're working as well with our environmental folks on how to enhance that green belt section, again, together with University of Florida and what they like to see, so that it's got that fitness component, education component. We just think it's so important to really truly get that activation, to have folks be able to bike over, run, bike, golf cart, what have you. We've got the proximity, we've got those residents, and as you kind of touched on, it's a win-win for everybody, for our residents to be able to come do it, for the businesses to want to be here. If we don't have those components, we won't be able to activate that space. So we think it's truly important and critical to the success.
there is probably the most major trail of the county coming north of 52 there. It's called the Orange Belt Trail.
Okay.
It's going to be behind one Pasco Center to the north.
Right.
But that trail follows the abandoned railroad line corridor that goes down to Trinity and connects with the Pinellas Trail.
Okay.
And so I want to make sure that we're keeping that in mind. And while I have an engineer sitting over there, for some reason, I haven't been able to be successful to move our multi-use paths away from being smushed up against the road. So they're really more glorified sidewalks than a nice trail. So I just want to remind everybody, because a land use attorney brought it up to me, not the one sitting here, but another one, that he said, well, you require 2 feet. And I said, no, that's the minimum,
Right.
And in my opinion, that minimum should only be exercised when there's a wetland in the way.
Right.
So, so I really look forward to this project.
Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic for the county.
Yeah, likewise. I appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Okay, I'm going to have the Commissioner one,
I move to approve.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Wonderful.
so much. I
Nice seeing you
appreciate
again.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to make one last remark. The board today internalized the funding of $70 million worth of employment center infrastructure without a dime coming out of the taxpayer's pocket. And it will support 6 million square feet of development because the improvements go off-site to the Abbey property to the east. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Thank you, David.
I can't wait.
Madam Chair?
That's great.
Yeah.
And David, would you still hang around for just a little bit? No, I mean, we'll get to committee reports. Thanks.
Okay, we are now to miscellaneous business. Commissioner Oakley.
Okay. We haven't spoke to this on any of the issues as far as an interim or a person, since Mr. Biles has announced that he's leaving in, I think, the end of July, but it'll be around for August, September, somewhere in there. But I've had interviews with both Michael Kabala and also Eric. I can tell you this, I like both gentlemen. They've both been here 8 years, and they've both been doing great jobs in their departments that they're at. So, but with that being said, I tend to think, and I'm talking out loud because I haven't spoken to any commissioners about it. It's the only place we've been, so I've been talking to myself most of the time, I guess. But the fact is, I think it'd be best that we either name one of these gentlemen the interim at this time, or county administrator, either one. It could be interim and then possibly, but this is a very important time for Pasco County and our budget for our citizens. And for him to go through that budget process with Mr. Biles while he's still here will be great value for the future. And so at that, I would like to propose that we choose Michael Kabala to be the interim. And that's my voice, but that's my motion also.
Well, I respect that very much, but we don't have all our commissioners here. So I kind of feel that this is an important discussion and we should wait till all 5 of us are here. So I would maybe move this discussion to the next board meeting. Commissioner Mariano?
You know, if the timing wasn't so critical, I would agree. But right now, they're in the midst of these meetings right now. You know, you know, I met with both of them as well. Both could do the job, no question about it. And I think really with all we've got going on, the jail coming under our purview, et cetera, we got so many things going that we really can't afford to skip a beat. I think he could, you know, Mike would do a good job stepping right in, right off the bat, and then understand what's coming in the budget, make these recommendations. Like, we're looking for what we're going to do with County Line Road. I've got some other projects that I wanted Dave to hang around and to go talk about a little bit more too. So with all that's going on, I think we need to best make the move now. And initially I wasn't maybe going to go that way, but in conversations I've had and seeing things evolve right now, I think it is a good idea.
We actually need a second for discussion.
I will second the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, what was the
We're in
motion?
discussion.
Which was the motion?
Well, he made a motion to appoint Mike Kabala.
Well, Mike Kabala is.
And the county attorney told me you shut him down without a second. So I'm correcting myself.
So I would be okay. I would be okay to wait until June 21st till everyone's here and then have them either present or meet with us discussing the interim position.
See, I don't know if Mike's had an opportunity to interview anyone because he's been sick. So just in respect to him, I just thought we should wait 2 more weeks. I mean,
Well, I understand that, but the fact of it is, time is of the essence. It's a good move, and it's the right move, I think, for this board to move forward and start putting Mike in that position to learn and become a very good administrator. So I just think it's the right time. You know.
So you don't think we should have a full board to make that?
No, I just think
Okay, well,
I think it's okay with the board we have here.
Maybe I can come up with some kind of compromise. I think I understand where the board wants to go. So if you'd like to wait on an actual vote until the 21st when Commissioner Moore can be here, I can take direction, and if you want to give me direction to start including someone in some of my meetings, I can take that direction. Then you can wait until all 5 of you are here to have a final actual vote.
I'm good with that.
Agreed.
Okay.
So I got to change my motion to read that he will start acting as an interim on.
Well, just provide me
Stop.
direction to include him in
Take
some
back
of
the
my,
vote.
in some of the meetings where he belongs.
We've taken the vote back, okay?
Withdraw the second.
Okay, and then, and I'm fine with that, with Mr. Carballa working with you until we make that vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's 3 board members up here giving you direction.
Got it.
And I don't know if you'll join in or.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
And then we'll vote on
And
the
then we'll
21st.
vote. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Mr. O'Kane?
if you'd like, we'll actually put an agenda item on the.
That's a
on the
good idea.
agenda.
Yes, please.
Not on consent.
On Thursday, took a tour ride on a bus with a lot of individuals in the area, about the northeast rural area and Lacucci and part of that area. And we toured like through Lacucci and went all the way up into Hernando County and into Highway 50 and then to 98 and back to Trilby. And in that time, David Lambert was with us, and he works for WRC. He was expressing that industrial properties right across the border from Pasco County, and that warehouse space and all was available for people there toward Ridge Manor and then back over toward 50 and 75 back in that area. But they run against our border, so I would want to do all we can to keep those kind of warehouses, those kind of jobs coming into Pasco County and providing for the citizens of Pasco County rather than them go over into Hernando County and try to work hard to be in Pasco County and businesses and providing jobs for our people. And then eventually we'll have workforce housing and things of this and building up Lacucci. That'll be stronger, and we had a consultant with us that's looking at the area of Lacucci and Trilby and that area. And then I spoke to my vision of Northeast Rural with spacious land, large lots, some clustering of homes in areas like communities, and all part of that is being a part of that property out there that I think some of the Northeast Rural were in favor of 2.5 acres being rural, but there's roughly 3,000 acres so out there on the old Trilby Road going back toward Blanton that I would not want to see all of it in checker box, little 2.5 acre lots all out through there. My view for that is very much open and very much, very pretty, very nice, different than VOPH, different from Connected City, but be something that the Evans family will be proud of and Pasco County can be proud of in that area. So that's what we were visiting and touring on Thursday, and I thought it was a very good tour to see that. So.
Our county is so diverse.
It is. We have 2 histories.
And
we
it's
got an east side and we got a west side. So.
Beautiful rolling hills and the coastline. We've got a beautiful county.
So we want to keep that. We want to keep that charm in that part of our county, and I think it'll work out real good. So that's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Fitzpatrick.
Thank you. Well, it was an honor to speak at Athenian Academy's 8th grade graduation. Congratulations to all of our seniors and all of our students that graduate and moved on to the next grade level. And I would just like to mention on Area Agency of Aging, Pasco, Pinellas Pasco, they have asked me to sit on the finance board, so I'm very excited about that, and I got to attend my first meeting last week. In addition, I got to learn about all of the services that all the extra funding that they have right now. So if anybody knows anyone that is a client of theirs and they need a walker or wheelchair or a ramp or any additional accessories, they do have help with that. They also have help with utilities and the utility bills up to a certain amount. So that's very exciting to hear that they do have funding. It does need to be spent by a specific date. So again, if you know anyone that needs it, please let me know. Next, so earlier today, Pastor Angelo had mentioned and brought up the 10 acres that is in Moon Lake. And I feel it's very important to share with the board. In March of 2012, the county deeded its interest in Tract A of Moon Lake Estates, Unit 10, to Manna Mission, Inc., after the prior nonprofit deeded the property back to the county. The deed provided that they were going to use the property for community services free of charge to the Moon Lake community, including but not limited to a medical clinic, recreational activities, counseling, addiction mentoring, job placement, anger management, parenting, English as a second language, a premarital classes within a 5-year period. Only minimal activity seems to be occurring on the property, and the property appears to have set up a couple picnic benches to try to qualify for recreational activities listed in the deed, which I don't believe was the board's original intent. I would like to move that the county attorney's office be requested to review the matter and provide a recommendation on what steps to take next to recover the property, because we do have other people that are willing to move forward and provide services back to the Moon Lake community, and I think it's very important that we have activities for our youth in that area.
Yeah, I think we need to put those 10 acres
That was a
to good
motion.
use. Yeah, so is there a second?
My motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Mariano.
Okay, under discussion, do you need to say something, County Attorney, or are you good with the motion?
I'm good with the motion. This will likely result in, if we'll do the analysis, we've done some early analysis on this anyway. It will likely have to do a declaratory judgment action if that's the wishes of the board, but let me, Ms. Spiritos is out of the office right now. Let me put together an agenda package to bring back to the board about our recommendation moving forward, if that's what the board wishes to do.
All right, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good, I'd like to see good things happening out there. Okay, anything
And
else?
then 2 more items. I don't know if you have the photos. So we had a push-in ceremony for Fire Rescue 230. It was placed into service on May 30th, and we just had the push-in ceremony this month. It's very exciting to continuously add new ambulances, which we need to continue to move forward, adding additional ambulances. This ambulance actually accommodates 4 firefighters, or 4, it seats 4 people in the cab. It has a state-of-the-art $400,000 truck with $150,000 of technology and life-saving equipment. It was a year-long project between the Pasco County Fire Rescue leadership and the manufacturer, so thank you, everyone. You guys did a great job. We were looking to help alleviate some of the calls on at Station 30, but Fire Rescue 230 has had 400 calls in addition to the other rescue that was already placed there. It didn't technically alleviate that station, but it did alleviate some of the surrounding areas, the surrounding fire stations. The countywide utilization rate was 30%, and we would like to see it at 30% or less. So when this fire rescue was placed into service, it reduced the utilization rate to 28%, which is great, but we still have other fire rescues that are over the utilization rate, so I would like to continuously see additional fire rescues be placed into service to help alleviate the other fire stations. I did have a handout. It was brought to my attention, and it was very concerning to me, and it was mentioned in C10 today. our firefighters and really all of our first responders are heroes. They put their lives on the line for us and our community every day. I was upset learning about the specific lawsuit regarding benefits to the firefighters facing a dire cancer diagnosis. I take this very seriously, and I think I gave away my, no, it's right here. So the Florida statute 112.18.16 basically states if a firefighter is diagnosed with a cancer, one of the 21 cancers on a list, then they are entitled to specific benefits, including not limited to their health care and any out-of-pocket deductible reimbursements, in addition to a one-time cash payout for the initial cancer diagnosis. And if it is held true that they were diagnosed with invasive skin cancer, then I feel this should be moving forward and there shouldn't be any holdup in the system. So I find it concerning that we're not giving out the benefits that the Florida statute states, especially when they put their lives on the line for us every day. So I just want all the commissioners to be aware.
Madam Chair, since we're
Commissioner
talking about that issue, the case wasn't,
You know, we normally talk about litigation, not
okay.
here.
So,
I was just going to move
Seems like we need an answer. I'll ask the attorney to take care of this.
Madam Chairman, Commissioner Fitzpatrick, so C10 was our quarterly report to you of what lawsuits have been filed against the county. The Hammond lawsuit was one of those that came in this quarter. It has been referred to outside counsel. Outside counsel thinks it is defensible. If the board wishes to have a litigation assessment meeting on this particular litigation, it is early in the case, but I will be happy to bring outside counsel in to do that litigation assessment meeting with you all. But at this point, I have no, it would only be litigation strategies. I have no settlement negotiations that have been undertaken in this case.
I would like to move forward with that meeting that you just suggested. I think it's going to cost more to defend this, and they put their lives on the line for us.
Be careful what you're saying.
Okay.
So. Okay, we'll do a quick, once you have a litigation assessment meeting for us.
Do you want, if the board wishes, I will try and coordinate a date with outside counsel for the 21st meeting if he's available. If
Okay.
not, we'll push it on to your July meeting.
Is there anything else?
Thank you. That's it.
Mr. Mariano.
Got a couple of things. David, if you would. You know, seeing the project just come through today with all the jobs it's going to create over in Commissioner Oaken's district. Over on Hicks Road, New York Avenue, there's a project for the 160 acres coming up. And I would like to just give David an extra push to kind of work with us to come back with a plan, as we're already working in discussion. There's a meeting coming up on Thursday to work with these guys to do something about, let's go find a way to put infrastructure in place that's needed. Shady Hills plant is like right there. The roadway extension for that Vision Road, Hicks Road, that's been on our plan for many years is in play. It's important to them as well. So David, whatever incentives you can think of for them as well to come forward would be great. And I'd also like to take a look at, on Old Dixie Highway, there's a place where there was, it's not even officially a bridge because the span wasn't wide enough when they lowered the bridge down, but there's about 200 homes behind it that can't get out by boat, and it would be almost direct access to the Gulf of Mexico. So there's 200 lots out there that minimal boats are out there because unless you're at low tide, you can't get out unless you're ducking down. I would like to, just like we just talked about doing at Lacucci, to go take this area as a district, see what it would cost, and I think I've already got estimates of, and we'll see if we can shorten the numbers up. It's about $1 million to do the study, to go design the bridge, and another $4 million to build it. But it was one of those infrastructure projects I thought would be good for the county to put in for the penny. But I'd like David to kind of take a look at it and bring some ideas back with us to how this could work the same type of way at Lacucci, because, you know, our coast is a jewel, And when you got that opportunity that's right there to get to the Gulf of Mexico so easily, that we should be able to take a look at it.
Yeah.
So if the board's comfortable with that, we'll keep on working on that.
Okay.
It's at Old Dixie Highway, just south of New York Avenue, north of Hudson. There's a flattened out bridge. It used to have a nice peak to it, but they shortened it out years ago. And it was hard for me to find that, when the bridge replacement was done, because they don't even consider it a bridge because of the span. But it's a very connectable waterway with all those homes that are built with canals. That would be a great benefit. So yeah, if you would all take a look at it, that would be great. Matter of fact, as we keep on working in Rogers Park, if anybody hasn't been to Hernando County to look at it, when we talk about Hudson Beach, which could come up to an unsolicited RFP again, or we just go out for bid like we talked about, could be some great things to do on the coast. Another thing, I saw last night on Bay News 9, there was an article where, and I didn't get the name of the county, I didn't save the tape, but it showed where calling into 911, they would have a doctor available for teledoc, that if they thought they could look and talk with, the doctor could talk to the patient, they could decide whether they need to have an ambulance go out or not, or they could just treat right away. This county's done it. I want to get more details too, we can pull it up, but I think it's something, another option to go take a look at that may work. Kind of keep you in mind for that. Last thing, talk with the sheriff. As we talked yesterday, we were talking about the homeless situation. And I know we've had this policy of homeless first, but a couple of years ago at a coalition meeting, I asked to find out where these people were coming from. Number one, I would find out if they're our residents. I want to take care of them. If they're coming in, being bussed in from somewhere else, or told to come to Pasco County, if there's a way to get back home if they want to go home, then let's get them home. The sheriff likes that plan. Our staff isn't comfortable with it, but I think is not with it. They want to take care of the people that are here, period. However they got there, they don't care. They just want to take care. I want to say we should be taking care of our own. I don't want anybody, because of it, they can keep on shipping people to us. They're going to keep on shipping people to us. I want to address that issue. They dropped those questions from the point in time survey a couple of years ago after doing it just like once. I want to see that we work with the sheriff and kind of look at all avenues we can.
And if we're providing specific services, and I know Kathy, we discussed new ideas coming in, and I don't know when you were going to present them, so it will be great that we can provide all of these services, and I'm looking forward to being able to help the homeless and house the homeless. And by the way, the 74-year-old lady that was discussed previously, she is in permanent stable housing, so I'm very excited about that. But like I said, it's great that we're providing these services, but we have to be careful that if we provide such great services and everyone comes here, are we going to be able to continue to provide those services? So we do need to provide the services to our Pasco County residents. So I do agree with keeping that question and then making sure specific people are not busing them here.
Yeah, and when you look at San Francisco, that was told to be a great navigational center from years ago, and the word got out how great that place was, and you saw what a disaster it's turned out to be in that area. Their most successful part of the program was bringing people back to where they came from. So I just want to make sure we keep all options open, find out where they're coming from, and look at that as well. Because the sheriff's going to be coming pretty strong for that area. He's already let the coalition know that these things are going to start happening. So he's going to start taking care of it because the crime rate's up, the image is bad. And by the way, I think between code and the sheriff's office, that panhandling ordinance, the right-of-way safety ordinance is working very well to minimize any danger out there. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. County Administrator.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Just wanted to quick text. A couple things.
Firefighters you may want to, are we going to talk about our budget increase?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
We're set up one-on-one meetings with y'all to walk you through where we are. We're not final with that yet, so those will happen probably in a couple weeks.
Okay.
So, but that said, what you saw in your preliminary discussions with respect to fire rescue is in the budget. The question is what else can we do? And so we're working through some of those issues. A couple things. I'll start with a couple short things and then turn it over to our intergovernmental relations team to talk about the session now that the governor's finally addressed the budget. First off, some positive news. We got a re-rating on our bond rating for the half-cent sales tax revenue bonds that are going out. So we actually got an increase from AA to AA plus, which probably will save us over $400,000 over the term of those bonds. And that's good going forward. Again, tells you what kind of fiscal stewards the board has been of the general fund specifically, because that's half-cent sales tax in the general fund. So that's positive.
And that's pretty much the best a government would
want,
right?
That's about as best as you want right there. I mean, there are AAA out there, but
that
you're setting aside money and you're kind of tying your hands to a certain extent past that. So, quick jail update. Commissioner mentioned a tour in a visit that happened on Monday, I believe. You approved the resolution today, which should help expedite our ORI number. In fact, our Pasco Sheriff's Office is also helping expedite that through their contacts with FDLE. We have a draft interlocal that we're reviewing internally. So taking stuff from the Sheriff's Office through our outside counsel, they prepared a draft interlocal. We're reviewing that internally before we kick it back over to the Sheriff's Office. And then, of course, all the individual department efforts continue. You heard the update from the clerk of where they are with respect to the audit. And we are trying to make sure that we bogey enough in this current budget to be able to capture the costs that we think will be out there when we take the jail over on or about the 1st of October. The 1st of October is kind of an important date because that's when all the benefits are set in place for the year, and so that makes it that's the easiest day to do the transition from an employee-employer relationship. So we're still targeting that date, mainly for the benefit of the employees. So that's where we are on that. Told you about the bond rating increase, and with that, I will turn it over to Ralph Lair and Sean Foster as they kind of update you on I know, we got some positive results out of the budget, so I think we want to focus on some of the positive today and carry on with that. So with that, Ralph, John.
Good morning. Ralph Lair, Intergovernmental Affairs Officer. We do have our Tallahassee lobby team, Sunrise Consulting here. We got Sean and Andrew here. Before I turn it over to them, they do have a presentation. I'm going to quickly go through and revisit some of the items I've already talked to you about now that the budget has been signed, what Pasco County as a whole got, some of our losses, and then I'll turn it over to them. So as we know, the budget, the governor did sign the budget last week and yielded the veto pen. On our priority issues, we did have our Ridge Road extension, $14 million vetoed. We did receive Pasco County Green Key drainage improvements for $2 million, so that was good to see. We did have 2 additional items on our list of activities that were vetoed. The sports training youth tournament complex for $35 million and the Pioneer Road intersection project for $5 million, actually 4.9. We did receive Lacuccian Industrial Area right-of-way improvements for $5.9 million. And then as a whole, what did our county get? Pasco County Fair Association got $2.5 million to do a barn replacement. Pasco County Housing Authority received $700,000 for a 77-unit affordable housing for veterans that will be over on Massachusetts Avenue in Newport Richey. Pasco Schools had a project with Moffett Cancer Center, a partnership. Unfortunately, that was vetoed for $7.1 million. The Sheriff's Office had 2 projects. One of their items was vetoed for their Office Community Outreach and Engagement Initiative for $150,000, but they did receive $3.2 million for a Center for Recovery of Endangered and Missing Persons. Our municipalities this year, East Side came through and put in several projects. So I always like to highlight our municipalities. Dade City got 2 projects. Morningside Drive extension, glad we see that. They can finally get that done for $9 million. And then they received $4.2 million for a 5-point intersection roundabout, which will be over on Meridian, St. Joe Road 52. They did get one.
Who got that money?
Dade City.
Dade City.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, it was on for 2 years out, but the money was brought forward so it can happen now.
Great.
Yeah. They did get a veto. Dade City had a $39.7 million project to do a replacement of their wastewater treatment plant and a relocation. San Antonio received 2 projects, $600,000 for a stormwater management project and a $900,000 for a sewer extension project. They did get 1 veto for $500,000. They were looking for money to harden their city hall and their historic fire station. City of Zephyr Hills was our big winner in our community. They had 3 projects in, 3 projects stayed in. They received $3.5 million for Cossack Road and Fort King Road sewer main and water main extension. They received $6.6 million to make airport improvements, big one for our county. And they received $1.9 million to have an extension into the new National Guard off of South Avenue. And a couple of more. St. Leo University did have a couple, 2 items vetoed, but they received $15 million to do a multi-purpose arena complex. Maybe we can see some graduations there in the future. I don't know, so we don't have to go down to Tampa.
On their campus?
That's on their campus, that's correct. And additionally, Moffett Cancer Center received $106 million for their infrastructure on their park. However, they did receive one big loss, and that was a $20 million recurring for 30 years, which would have paid out to about $600 million over time that they were going to use for the building of the hospital. And other than that, I mean, I've shared with you the other items, but I just really wanted, again, just share some highlights, and I will turn it over to Sean.
I'll just follow up on the $20 million that was vetoed on Moffett. I know some of you had some really major concerns, and I would too, talking about the bond rating, and congratulations on seeing that getting increased. But I do want to emphasize they also got $23 million last year by a bill that passed by Senator Hooper and of course with the support of Senator Simpson that added to the sales tax for the cigarettes. So they did just get $23 million a year through that sales tax. Now, an extra 20 would have been very helpful, obviously, in that bonding over another 30 years, but I just wanted to emphasize that because I want to give the legislature credit. Over all the projects you mentioned, there were 433 projects vetoed statewide. Just let that set, 433 projects. That is huge, $3.1 billion. Not any county went without, or any school board, any city without having projects, vetoed. And I looked at it. Hernando was treated similarly. Citrus County also, Lake County. So those around you had similar, where some items went through, but every one of them had some vetoes. So Andrew, as you all met Andrew Colell last year, he'll be helping me here. If you want to put the computer down here, we'll start and we'll get through this very quickly. I also like to just start off real quick to kind of go over the session. Because session looked like it was so traumatic. The session looked like it was always on fire, that the House and the Senate were fighting and that the legislators were fighting, the Democrats and Republicans. But out of 3,735 bills, 285 passed, 7.6%. That was the regular. But what you're going to see on the next slide real quick here is that there was this perception I saw you that everything was just really on fire because it was a couple of the bills. But only in less than 7 bills, this one out of less than 7 bills out of those 3,700 did not pass with a bipartisan support. It's pretty intriguing when you think about it at the end, that only 7% either did not pass unanimously or with bipartisan support. So it wasn't as divisive as we read and we think and we see in the newspapers. The $112 billion budget you see, the $3.1 billion. Every year I come before you and say this is the largest bill that we've ever seen with the legislature. That will continue. This has continued to be. What I wanted to give you real quick on why this next bullet point is so important. No, sorry, go back one more. The 12.3. So in January, the Revenue Estimating Conference had just revised their expectations for the remainder of the fiscal year, and February was still up 12% more than what they had just revised in January. So meaning $300 million came in sales tax revenue than what they had even projected in January, and that's continued. We've had almost over $6 billion added to the budget in this fiscal year than was expected. That's a huge amount, $6 billion. We put what you didn't see as much in the budget, and we didn't talk about, is $5 billion went into already in reserves. Out of that 112 down to 109, $5 billion was already projected to go into the reserves. Some of the big items I'll just peruse real quick here: $2.3 billion for Everglades restoration, 5.38% state employee tax increase. There was a creation of the 6th district, but in law, but of course the funding was vetoed. So that'll be interesting how that's handled next. So, go ahead.
I don't know if any of y'all saw, they created a 6th district court of appeals. We've historically had 5 district court of appeals. Just to follow up on what Sean said a little bit, they did cut the budget to fund a new courthouse in Pinellas County. That's because the way the policy works, the new 6th District Court of Appeals doesn't actually take effect till January 1. They won't be able to break ground on a facility until late next year, so they don't really need the money this year, from my understanding. I do expect that funding to come back next year. Another thing that I'll touch on is this $100 million in Hometown Hero housing program. I don't know if any of y'all saw, the legislature put in a $100 million grant program, loan program, to give 0% loans to first responders who are buying their first house. So they will now be eligible to apply to the Florida Housing Finance Corp, can't say it correctly, which is the state's housing funding arm. They'll be able to apply for a 0% loan to use as a down payment when purchasing their house. So that's a really cool thing that was added.
First time ever.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Page down.
Next one. I don't have to tell you anything. We already talked about the Moffett Research Park. That is just going to have huge implications, not just for Pasco County, but for Central Florida, South Florida here for us. We've already talked about some of the funding that already went through. The State College Fire Academy is would be huge for your firefighters, also for the training. Before, they would have to go to Lake County, Hillsborough, to facilitate their training at Pasco Hernando State College, because they didn't have their own facilities, so they had to look at different facilities in other counties. They received $5.4 million to have their own fire academy, and that'll be huge here for Pasco, because they'll also bring in other services from our other counties to participate in that academy. We've already been told. We're not going to go through all these. Ralph, I think you kind of said everything on those. The $2 million for Green Key. Lacucci was huge, obviously, $5.9 million.
What a nice trail.
I know, very nice.
Did you get that on the name right there?
Look at the landscaping between the trail and the road. I can't believe it. How did they do that?
Yes, sir.
Previous slide, did you get that name right?
Oh, Lord. If I...
Green Key?
Oh.
My apologies.
Well,
Mariano does start with an M.
I do, while we're on the slide, while we are on the slide, and my apologies for my faux pas here on the member, I do want to point out, as many of y'all may know, this is more for staff, this money won't be available until July 1, and then you'll have to enter into a grant agreement with the specific department that has the money. So you really won't see the money for 30 to 60 days from today.
A question on this. Is this a cooperative funding program with SWIFMUD?
I don't know.
Why would it not?
It's not.
It's not?
Straight grant.
This one
I know.
was through DEP. Do they have to do matching, Rob?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you asked that because
Not
you're
right
not
now.
on
No,
school, correct?
it's not.
No, because we do cooperative funding with them.
This was a big one. It was pretty controversial, obviously, this year. Some of the commissioners, I've spoke to you about this already, and it's interesting how some of this is going to play out. It's going to establish a process by which a business owner can recover losses caused by new ordinances passed by local governments, must demonstrate a 15% loss. Then, of course, prevailing businesses can be awarded costs and attorney fees. Did you want to say something about this real quick? No?
No.
Okay. And again, we can stop and we'll provide information to the staff and everything else that you'll need. A big one here, residents will no longer have to
do it in the manner they've done before, the right to prune, trim, and remove trees, the amend statute so that local governments may not inhibit a property owner's rights to prune, trim, and remove trees. This is an issue that's been before the legislature, the past couple of years. They did a small revision last year, and then this extends it.
And what they added this year was allowing the local government can't deny if it poses an unacceptable risk. That's the new language that was added.
So, question on that?
Yes, ma'am.
But if our ordinance requires, a tree canopy or trees, they have to put another tree back in?
No. Currently, so if a tree is struck by lightning.
Yeah, I get that. But they don't have to replace it.
I don't believe you have it it's not in statute. I don't believe you have it in your ordinance that it has to be replaced currently.
Yeah, well, no, we require communities to have a tree in the front or the back or whatever. And if they take it out, they gotta put it back in. I mean, I agree if there's a damaged tree
Right.
or whatever, but they can take it out, but
They would have to replace it? Is that in
if our
your?
rules say the neighborhood requires trees, then surely they need to put it back in. That would be
There's
a bad, big problem.
This legislation was going after the individual lot owner's
Right.
ability, not the development community's ability to do.
So as me as a homeowner, if my tree is struck by lightning, I did not see that in this bill.
You don't have to get a permit to take it out.
Correct, but I
Right,
didn't see anything.
But you would
but
have to
you're-
replace it if your development agreement with your community says everyone has to have a tree.
So there would be two provisions. One, I'd have to go reflect back to your county ordinance. I don't know what that says. But two, a homeowners association can also have it, could have that in there, that they would have to replace the tree. The statute does not have it that they have to replace the tree.
I was just going to say real quick, this whole bill was in regards to a case in Miami-Dade County. After the hurricane, all the trees were damaged. There was a palm tree in someone's front yard that, when they were going around collecting the debris, he removed that tree and the county fined him. And this was 2 days after the hurricane. And so he went ahead and removed the tree, even though it wasn't damaged, and the county fined him. So.
Well, no, I understand that some governments may go overboard on what you're allowed to do in touching a tree, but but you shouldn't be able to just stick your finger at the county ordinances as far as requirements.
We'll do a little digging on that, and I'll get with the county attorney's office.
Thank you.
I'll do this one and Andrew, let's do the next one. The next one, sorry. We're hoping the firefighters would stay for this, and I was just talking to Mr. Gadd. The House Joint Resolution 1, again, this is going to be an extra benefit for our law enforcement, correctional officers, classroom teachers, as you see here. It'll be on the ballot to add an extra $50,000 homestead exemption for all those that are listed on here, and that will be on the ballot in November. So that is coming up pretty exciting.
And there's a cap on that. They won't be able to claim, there's a value where a range of a value where a house has to be between, I can't remember the exact number, like 100,000 to 150,000 or somewhere. If their house is worth $300,000, their house may not actually qualify based on the rest language.
Is that while they're employed, or is that in perpetuity?
And now that I do not know off the top of my head. I'll have to do some research and get back to you on that.
Good question.
I will find out, yeah.
Okay.
You just added this.
Commissioner, I think they have to revalidate that.
Yeah. Okay.
They have to be employed. It's not for perpetuity.
Okay.
They have to be employed, right?
Yes, they have
That
to be
makes
employed, and they
sense.
have to revalidate, so the property appraisers are going to have to set up a system that they don't have today to deal with that.
Yeah.
So last one, we've been talking about this for many, many years. Legal notices have been around almost for 20 years. They implemented some law last year. They don't believe they went far enough. The newspaper industry actually lobbied against some of these changes. Interesting note, if I give you the capital impact, $250 million savings to cities, school boards, and counties statewide, $250 million on posting illegal notices. It does change and implement some of it on how other cities, they could do it through their website. There is some language in there, and we can, I'm sure your attorney's office is already familiar with this, but if they need more information and analysis on the bill, I think this was a long time coming, so. Next one. Go ahead.
I know Pasco County does not necessarily have a law enforcement arm themselves. You have your constitutionally elected sheriff, but I've been notifying local governments as part of our presentation. House Bill 3 that passed allows law enforcement agencies to recruit from out of state or recruit persons in state who have never been in the profession. And there's a fund that's set up that allows them to provide a one-time bonus up to, I believe, $5,000 for newly employed officers. I'm not sure if this applies to correctional officers, but it sounds like with the
That's what I
county's,
was gonna ask.
yeah, with the county's transition, I'll find out, and that could be a bonus that you guys may be able to tap into. But
That's important.
I know that the bonus will come from the FDLE, not through. But I'll find out. I'll find out for you. Yep. And then the next one, regulation of smoking by municipalities. This was a big deal this year, a big win for home rule. This allows local governments to restrict smoking within the boundaries of any public beach or park within your jurisdictional limit. I know a lot of local governments were looking for that, and it's a great flexibility tool for you. The exception, of course, is for an unfiltered cigar. They protected Sean and I to ensure we could still have our cigars on the beach. I'm just kidding. So that will be an exception by which you won't be able to restrict that. The last slide is there's a lot of bills that did not pass, as we saw at the beginning of this presentation. 93% of the bills didn't pass. But this one in particular I want to bring up to the board. This is the sovereign immunity bill, and I'm sure you saw some of this in, do you have a question?
Madam Chair, does that include parks?
Yes,
For the cigarette
that
smoking?
includes parks.
Because I was
Any
concerned.
public beach or park.
I wish it was at intersections, because if you look out the
Intersection
window, it's
stoplights.
all filters. and they're
But
in
yeah,
the gutter.
it is not just beaches. It is, well, some will use the word municipal, but county parks as well. So you will be able to restrict smoking at parks,
Because it was
which you seem very
concerning, because I
excited about
did
that.
bring kids on Mother's Day to the beach, and they were literally smoking and throwing their cigarette butts into the water.
Would you like to
And I
go ahead
spoke
and
to
enter a motion to make this effective July 1? There's no more, no more smoking in the parks? I did not recommend that. All right.
Yeah, this is good about
I did
sovereign
say something
immunity.
to them, even though it wasn't in effect yet.
So the last bill I wanted to bring up is, I'm sure y'all know, the state has a limited waiver of sovereign immunity, which means you guys are liable for an accident. You only owe up to, $200,000 per person, $300,000 for each incident in the aggregate. There were some talks, a bill that was not talks, there was a bill introduced to move this to $1 million per person with an unlimited amount in the aggregate. So let's say what does that look like for Pasco County? Pasco County, a county truck hits a car, it kills 2 people. You are now on the hook for $1 million per life, and an additional, any other punitive damages that could be held against the county. The aggregate damages that are set against the county is unlimited. So through the legislative process, they negotiated that. They ended up settling on $400,000 per person, $600,000 per aggregate incident. The bill ultimately died, but I do expect the bill to come back, and I just think it's very important that all administering boards such as yourselves know about the changes that they are trying to potentially push through and what that will affect on your risk management and your insurance practices. But I do expect that to come back.
And as you know, when it pierces those amounts, it becomes claims bills. We've seen the same claim bills sometimes around literally for almost 2 decades. I'm telling you how long some of those claims bills get filed year after year up there in Tallahassee. So I just want to leave with that and say thank you, first of all, for coming to Tallahassee. I want to tell you thank you for the time that you met, not just with our legislative delegation, but with individual chairs, even Representative Mariano, right? We got to meet and many others in there, and it was very helpful. Your coordination with your team, with Ralph and your administration is second to none. We get information back from you and even the attorney's office when we need to know what some of the implementations are and how they impact the county. So just want to thank you and your staff for the quick turnaround.
Don't leave.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'm bringing something up that I need you here for in my items, but and so we're gonna keep moving. Any questions?
Quick question.
Okay.
So Sean, County Line Road didn't get funded.
Oh, yeah.
However, interesting enough, it was just like the week before, maybe 2 weeks before, we got a call from FDOT saying to work with Hernando County, start designing the road.
Correct.
So that's kind of a good sign.
It's a very good sign. I have had conversations. Number one, let me just say to you, there's a real big, first of all, it was a huge amount, one of the largest amounts for a DOT project that was in the budget. It did not go through the actual process. Everybody, we always say that, it was in sprinkle, so that was one of the reasons it was in sprinkle. I've already had conversations, Commissioner, with Hernando County. They are making it a priority and want to move forward. They don't know if they can fund it at a $50 million level. There are some lower numbers that are being mentioned, so I know you guys were having some conversations, and that's great news to be hearing from FDOT then.
Well, would maybe it happen? I mean, keep in mind it was in Senator Simpson's district as well as Blaise Ignolia's district.
Correct.
Blaise is going for the state senate, been endorsed by the governor. Do you think maybe they would just put more money into DOT's budget to be able to take care of it so that we don't have to come out of pocket with money, just kind of put it part of our work plan?
I am very much expecting that, to be quite honest. You now are going to have a state senator from Hernando County. You are now going to have a state rep from Hernando County. They haven't had their own state rep for over 12 years since Representative Schenck was from there. So now that you're going to have two of those in each of there, I could see that becoming a priority for Hernando County and the legislative delegation.
I was going to add, so when you brought up, could it be put into the DOT's work plan? No. Anything that was vetoed this year cannot be rebuilt back into the work plan.
For another year.
So you have to wait a year.
Hang on.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So even if it was just put as a sprinkle, because I thought it was separate funding, different than the other way.
Because it shows up as a veto item, it could not be built back into the work.
Would they be able to do it at a different, not the same project, but they called it a different phase? Possible. Now, the Senate can, right, but the House cannot, even the Senate?
Correct.
Right, the Senate could do it, but the House could not. So that's how it happened this time. The Senate put in the 50 million, the House did not. So we would have to go back and do it through the Senate.
Okay. Good questions. County Attorney.
I'm only going to say this because of the amount of public comment you got this morning, but the school board's referendum, that particular type of referendum, the decision regarding placement is ministerial. It's not discretionary. You didn't have a choice. It had to go on the ballot. I know you left it on the consent agenda, but I think for the viewing audience, and the bill takes effect on October 1st, it is not in effect now, so you can't rely on legislation that was passed this session. So you had no choice but to honor the school board's wishes and put it on the primary election.
Right. Which is why we did what we did. Okay, now we're to me. So Sean.
Yes, ma'am. Stay here.
You know, I got some tapes of the Hernando County Board meeting, the last
Last
one we
week?
had. I
Yes,
haven't
ma'am.
watched this one, but I have friends on that commission, and I'm just concerned about what may, I'd like things to be better. I don't, it's not from us, but if there's something we need to do to be better neighbors with Hernando County, when things started getting acrimonial with our cities, we started having city, workshops, and, I just wonder if what we can do to put out a hand to say we want to work with our neighbors better going forward. Do you have any suggestions?
I do, actually. Andrew and I actually went back and watched the whole video because I had heard about that and wanted to kind of see what the interaction was. I have spoke to a few of you, but I would say, I think the major issue was talking about the what's it called? Interlocal agreement that you all have on providing the sewer services was the major point of conversation. But when we went back and listened to it, a lot of it had to do with building and paving of the County Line Road. Their sentiment, again, I didn't think it came out the most professional, and so I contacted the Assistant County Administrator the next day to have that same question, Commissioner. And I agree with you. I think, maybe a time to have a workshop, some type of interlocal meetings with them. They have a sentiment that we haven't been really interested in doing anything with County Line Road. The sentiment that came out, Dan, with them, if you hadn't watched it, was that, we were putting the burden for growth in that area on our side on them. And I would say, it was a unanimous vote to stop that agreement. And I said, but I do believe there are some opportunities. I don't know if you've already talked to Jeff Rogers or Toby Phillips.
I have not.
Yeah, so
I know
want to.
we have talked to his staff.
Yeah, I think a workshop, or me and the administrator or the acting administrator meets with their administration and their chair, or something, so that things are a little smoother. Commissioner Mariano?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The previous week, Carl McKisker, our MPO director, and I met with Jeff Rogers and Bob Esposito, their MPO director. So we had a good conversation about going forward. It was before the veto happened, so we were talking about what to do, how to make it go. I don't think relation's bad. I think what happened years ago is we had on the MPO list to get that road done. They decided they didn't want to get the road done. They were going to focus on the intersections. Now, it was only about 3 or 4 years ago I went up to Heritage Pines to watch their presentation about all the money they got for County Line Road and how Pasco County did not. And I had to defend us by saying, look, you guys didn't want to build the road, you just wanted to build intersections. You went to the small county grants, which we couldn't go after, and that's how they got the money. I congratulated them for doing a good job on that, and I still do. But right now, to build the road, we do need to work together. And I think I don't think it's a very negative thing with us. It's just like they're growing, like I told you, up above. They need the capacity that they were going to try to allow us to have. Well, why would they short sell their people when they need their own capacity? That's why we got to stand up and take care of ourselves if we're going to make this thing develop. So I appreciate what they've done. I respect what they've done. I understand why they did it. And that's why I wanted to bring up again about why County Line was important. We got to find a way to do the infrastructure on our own before that road gets built.
Well, it's more than the road. I don't know why. It's on economic development. It's on Career Source. They don't want to be in Career Source with us, apparently. They want to leave us and go be with Citrus and Sumter. So I just think we should work on relationship building.
On my conversation that I had with them a little bit yesterday, I think there's the opportunity. I think the communication needs to, open up, whether it's chairman to chairwoman, or it's county administrator. But on the other side, though, all I've heard on the other side is that they have, in their view, that it's been Pasco County that has opposed being part of the conversation with County Line Road. So it'd be interesting for them to sit down and really have that dialogue with you.
We have had, or at least I have had, such road envy of Hernando County because all their roads are massive, right? They got all that money when McKeithen was up there at DOT, and they've had 6-lane urban roads for decades when they had 100,000 people living there. So, come on. So anyway. Let's open that dialogue.
Absolutely.
And that's really all I had, so.
Right.
All right, we'll adjourn for lunch and we'll be back at 1:30. I did ask you and you said you had none, right? Okay.